DJ Music. I'ma say love times in 50 seconds. Let's go. Don't consider me a big shot. What up to Stevie, Mimi, Scrap, yo. I'm on my love and hip hop. Yeah, so solid, it flows through my body. And if you got it, love, I'm told that's where God is. I'm Tyrone Higgins whenever love is given to be pragmatic. I'm just an addict for your love, I gotta have it. My problems disappear when love's connected. I never wanna take back an hour, minute, or second. What a blessing, love ain't proud, it ain't rude. Love, it rejoices in telling the truth. Love is so patient, kind, it doesn't envy. Love your friends, love your enemies. I hope this love sink in. Got love for my neighbor, agape phileo. Let me be more convincing. Maybe you can dive in and exegete or censor, dissect the scripture where Bishop we show love. Or if you a sinner, transgender like Bruce Jenner, well, Caitlyn, we show more love. We use basic math, don't subtract, divide it. God can take one love, then add or multiply it. Don't wanna swear by it. I promise if you don't have love, your life will be full of the opposite. And that's a big mistake. We trying to demonstrate all love in sync like Justin Timberlake. And that's a big mistake. We trying to demonstrate all love in sync like Justin Timberlake. If it cost $1 million, or if it was free, I love you, you love me. Let's put love together. Love sing, love sing, love sing, love sing.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, this is me, Brother Darryl McGriff, coming at you with another episode of Love Sync Ministries Love Sessions. So, hey, like I say, our foundational scripture is 1 John 4:8. He that loveth not knoweth not love, because guess what? God is love. And as we say, we want you to walk in that every day, constantly and consistently. Don't be no part-timer. Be a full-time child of God and show people love every day, saved and unsaved, because you might be the only representation of God that they see. So make sure you're able to put a smile on somebody's face. And also, like I say, I'm still getting used to this YouTube and Facebook stuff. So I'm realizing that everything that drives this social media stuff is based on likes, comments, subscriptions, so views of the video. So especially on the YouTube, go to the YouTube channel of Love Sync Ministries and make sure you subscribe, like, leave comments. Like I said, I want this thing to get monetized, because the sooner we get monetized, the sooner I can start giving money back to you. Again, I don't need it. I want to give it to you. I want to show you love by giving you money. Have money giveaways. So let's tell everybody to subscribe, to like, leave comments. Let's pump this stuff up. Let's monetize it on both Facebook and YouTube so we can start putting money back in your pocket. So now today I am bringing on a special guest of mine that he performed at our anniversary in July. So ladies and gentlemen, I want you to put your hands together for my main man, Mr. Barry Ford. Barry Ford, come on up there, sir.
Hey, brother. How you doing?
Man, everything is great. What's been going on with you, man?
Oh, man, dealing with this COVID, as you, I would expect you to have to say something about it, because we all having to deal with it.
Yeah, we have to deal with it, but they don't have to let it deal with us. You know what I'm saying? All we got to do is just, hey, keep continuously walking in that love, man. Believe in God. Know that God truly loves you, and make godly decisions. And hey, you can make it through this thing, man. Like I said, just show people love. And as you show people love, that's what God is calling you to do. God will have your back. So let me do like I always do, man. I'm going to ask you 5 questions just to get your brain flowing, get everything going. You ready to rock and roll with it?
Yeah, gotta be.
All right, then here we go. Let me ask you this. What was the best social gathering you ever attended?
The best.
Mm-hmm.
Well, personal, public.
Whatever one, the best one for you. Personal, public. if you stayed at home and just watched Netflix, and that was it for you, then that's what it was.
Oh yeah, just I can think of I guess the surprise birthday party for my mom would be a event that I still remember,
Okay.
and just being able to surprise her and fly her brother in
Mhm.
Chicago, and having the whole family, my sister coming in from Maryland, and her not expecting that at all.
Yeah. Get surprised just to see all the joy in her face as you bringing in people that she haven't seen in years, huh?
Yes.
All right, good. Well, since you share Chicago, that makes me come to my next question. Where were you born?
Oh, I was born in Fort Worth.
What?
Actually, yes, never saw Fort Worth until I was an adult, but I was born there. I grew up in Tyler, Texas.
What, man? What you doing in Tyler? That's where I was born.
Oh no. Oh no, that's I'm an East Texas boy. That's where I spent all my days growing up. And then when I went to college, I came up in the DFW area, and I wound up at North Texas, and then it was just a little trek down to Dallas. And
So, what school did you go to in Tyler?
I went to Tyler Lee as my high school.
Oh, not Robert E. Lee. I wonder if they're gonna change the name since all this stuff is going on.
I think that's in the making.
Okay, all right. So now, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I had a lot of friends at John Tyler. That was considered the black school, I guess. And but we had black representation at Tyler Lee as well. But I was in a little street band with some of the members at John Tyler, and so I was good friends with a lot of people over there.
Right. I know my cousin Anton Lowndes. He plays bass, and he's been in a lot of bands over the years in Tyler, playing bass and stuff with some bands. All right. So now, what country would you like to visit?
Well, I just came back from Israel about last year, so that was that was an interesting visit. And I've been to London. I guess just because of all the mystique, musicians like Amsterdam. I guess that's in Holland, and then of course just because of all the culture, a lot of people like France, and so it's kind of a toss-up.
Well, I've been to both of those. So
wow.
So back that time though, France wasn't as clean as it looks. Like I said, all the culture and everything was there, but it was kind of a dirty city. So Amsterdam is clean. Holland is clean. It's like you can eat off the roads and stuff up there now.
Oh wow.
All right. What is the best and worst job you ever had?
Oh, my first job, just so there was a program to help youngsters get a job. That was working at a cemetery, and I would say it's probably my worst job too. But we were groundskeepers at a cemetery. My friend and I were youngsters, and so they didn't pay us worth anything, but just it's kind of a program so we could get a job.
Right.
And then my best job's been as a musician. Because I've worked for people, worked as a teacher, and worked as a manager at a restaurant. But as a musician, and I can't say that's a job because it is my job. But just there have been some great moments. Just the freedom of expression, and there are some musical jobs that don't allow that freedom, but I've enjoyed being a musician the most.
Okay, great. So now get into the meat and potatoes of everything. So now let me ask you this, like I asked all my guests. So when did you first get saved?
And that is a long story, because I grew up kind of in legalism, keeping the Sabbath and those kinds of things, and it was in a church where you didn't even get baptized as a young person. You waited until you were older. But when I went to college, I left that atmosphere ventured out a little bit, and but the Holy Spirit told me to get away from that atmosphere and come back to church. Now, when I came back to church, I was saved at that point, but I learned about the new covenant a lot later than that. So I would say that was a greater part of my salvation, where I knew that I didn't do it myself. I wasn't being a good boy. I wasn't doing it, even the Sabbath, or doing anything that made me get saved. The fact that Jesus saved me, and I relished that and embraced that. And that was probably about 12 years ago that I made that conversion.
Okay.
And it was 21 when I was first baptized.
Okay. So now I always ask people, so now when did you get married?
Oh, and don't put me on the spot now.
Is she around?
27 years ago. What's
okay, well that's good. 27
in September.
So now were you saved when you got married, or were you not in the church yet, or what?
Yes, I was already in the church.
Okay.
I got married.
And how many children do you guys have?
One son, and we got 4 grandchildren.
Okay, 1 son and 4 grands. So he's definitely doing his thing, and he's making sure that he replenishes the earth. Then, huh? Okay.
Yes.
So now, what I like to ask people, because like you said, you have a maturation of when you first got saved. Everybody did their backside and stages. Then they come back again, and then when they come back, it's almost like I have to relearn, or get back with God all over again and learn everything the right way. So now, in your maturation, how did your maturation from you being saved and getting your life together, how did that, number one, change you as a man? Then number 2, helped you in your marriage as a man, and then number 3, helped you as a father, as a man of God?
Okay. Well, in my immature stage, I was trying to seek the freedom to not have restrictions and do what I want to do. I'm trying to I think I'm missing this camera now. I was trying to have the freedom to not be, to not have restrictions. And so went out and was with somebody that was attracted to musicians, and we had a good time together. But I thought a certain way, and at some point when I was in the middle of thinking a certain way, I just needed the freedom to not have to explain it to anybody else, and not try to say, well, why try to make us more compatible by communicating and do this, do that, and the other. I wanted the freedom to love God, and without conflict.
Right.
And so that was very refreshing. So at that point, embracing the freedom to serve God, that carried on into my marriage, which was several years later, as my musical career developed. But then my marriage occurred several years later, and that part of me was already, there's no freedom away from God, because it's we were designed to follow through and become what He wants us to become, and ultimately, as you preach about love, we ultimately to love everyone in existence, and that became part of my being, and that's absolute freedom. So I'm not going to let that go. That helped me in my marriage, and helps me when I still need to give my son advice every now and then, and he's in 35. But it helped me in rearing him, and like I said, when the understanding of the covenant part kicked in, it really helped me in encouraging him as he made a few mistakes, and understanding that God already has a way for us to make it through that mistake part of life, and come back to Him and embrace Him. I don't know, Daryl. I think I lost you there.
No, I'm here. I just put you up there for everybody to look at you while you're telling your story. That's all. I'm
Oh, okay. I said, am I sitting here talking by myself?
no, hey, you'll see me. I might do this. I might flip it like this. You never know what I might do. So yeah, you just
Oh, okay.
when you. But
Oh,
yeah.
okay, you gotta warn me on that one. I was going what by myself.
Yeah. So yeah, go ahead and finish up what you said.
Oh yeah, just the reality that it is freedom when you know God has your path already planned out. I mean, there's leeway for us to decide. He made me the type of person to be an artist, and I have the freedom to do that. At some point, I used to worry about, it didn't fit well in society or that kind of thing, or I wasn't a 9 to 5 type of person. And then at some point, it's like, well, this is exactly what I'm meant to be. Uh, and so just the freedom to be what I am and to know God made me that and know that he's going somewhere with that. Like he said, he begins a good work in us and he's able to complete it. He's going to complete what he's doing in me. There's freedom in that. And going outside of that takes away that freedom, actually.
So now, being that you're a musician, and it was my bad, I put in there on the flyer that, jazz artist, which that's something that you can play. But being a musician, you can play country and western, you can play R&B, you can play whatever, neo soul, whatever it came for, because you're a musician. Now, as a musician, and I know, like I said, you might have to play for different bands. Some folks are saved, unsaved. So then how did you navigate with your faith in dealing with bands or people that you were going around that weren't saved and might try to get you to do stuff? They're like, hey, come over here, drink with us, come to the strip club with us. So how did you deal with that dynamic?
Okay, well, let me back up even a step. Because when I came back to church, I was real fervent. I was trying to do all the right stuff. And so even I was trying to play, quote, God's music. And I had a nice talk with an excellent pastor that gave me some advice. He's like, no, all music is God's music. I mean, all creativity is God's creativity. God is the biggest creator that there is. But the problem is what people do with that music. So it's no particular style of music that you can say is God's music. And so that opened my mind up to playing different music. And then that's what brought about the challenge. Okay, so what do I do and not do? Well, that part of it. I would say it's not just a musician's challenge. I mean, because Jesus said the fields are ripe for the harvest, but if you go harvest, he was down at the bars and everything else harvesting, and so I think that's everybody's challenge to love, but not be harmed by love, but not be overcome by that sin while we're loving.
Right.
And so that's a musician's job for sure. And but I would just say it's my job as a Christian, first of all, and so that translates into what I do as a musician.
Exactly. And see, and I think that's where like I said, back in the day, like you were saying, if you weren't playing God's music, then you were just totally wrong. Don't associate, don't do nothing. If you're not playing this church music or, gospel music, then, you shouldn't be doing anything at all. But not understanding that you a musician, just like an actor is an actor. And, you have to, like you said, you're the one that's, even if, let's say, some artist or something that does a lot of cussing and profanity and wear tight stuff and all that kind of stuff. And they say, well, we need a saxophone player. So when you go there to play the saxophone, you're going there as Barry Ford, child of God.
Right.
And they're paying you to play saxophone. They didn't pay you to cuss. They didn't pay you to take off your clothes and act crazy and gyrate and all that kind of stuff. So your presence, again, as a child of God, your presence is to bring that love to them and to bring God to them in that loving manner in a way that they haven't seen before, because they know if it's any other type, I'm gonna say like like when I was part of the Nation of Islam, the so-called Christians, they'll come there and be judgmental. Y'all shouldn't be doing this. Don't do this. Don't do that. Then they end up getting ridiculed and ostracized because they came into a situation instead of just being loved like Jesus did with the sinners and the publicans and everything that he went and talked to. Then you're going to be that same love, because when you go there just to do your job as a musician and as a child of God and loving everybody and just being peaceful with people and just acknowledging them and being kind to them, then you show them the true God versus those that come in there talking about what you shouldn't do and y'all going to hell and all that old stuff. But and that's what you're called to do when you go to work with those that are unsaved. You're there to be that beacon of light so they can say, I want some of what Barry, that's what I've been looking for. Even though I'm over here with this, I've been looking for something that Barry has to be able to do what I need to do and then serve God at the same time. And that's what's missing with with musicians doing stuff, comedians doing stuff. Even when we just, like I said, walk out there doing stuff. That's why I always say we got to constantly and consistently show love, aka God, at all times to all people, because we never know whose life that we might change. Because somebody, as long as they know that you're a Christian and serving God, they're always going to be watching you and what you do. And that's why we have to show love all the time.
I agree. Amen.
Yeah. So let me go ahead and pull this up real quick so they can see what you're doing. There you go. Let me flip this around over here. Yeah, now I want to put that like that right there. There you go. So now, how long you been playing?
Since 7th grade. Now, let me see. And I'm not ashamed of my age. So, but I guess professionally, I would say I've been playing about 30 years.
Okay. And now, have you been playing the saxophone the whole time?
Yeah, that was my, I wanted to play trumpet. Band director said, we don't have any trumpets, like the saxophone in my hand. And that's what the school had. And then I've been playing saxophone ever since.
And that was in Tyler when you picked that up?
Yes. It was in middle school that I missed out on playing the trumpet, and so I'm glad I did. Now, before that, I played the violin. I going to back up a little bit. And it was getting pretty intense. They were talking to me about trying to be a symphonic player, and then I'm going, well, no, that's not peer pressure. That's not cool enough. So I just went. So I wanted to get away from the violin. I love the violin now. Wish I played it as well as I did back then now. Right. But yeah, saxophone is my instrument. I double on flute. I was a band director, so I learned to play brass instruments as well. But as far as, perfecting, saxophone is my number one instrument. And then I would say my doubles, I have to be decent on them, such as flute. And I should be good on clarinet, but I don't own one. I don't practice on it.
So now, since you was in Tyler, when you played that instrument, did they make y'all take a test or anything to see what instrument you could play?
Back in that day, no, it was more like, this is what we got and this is what we need.
Well, I should have went to school up there at Robert E. Lee then, because see, about that time, this is in the early 70s. Yeah, I believe that was the early 70s. I was down at Chapel Hill down there in Tyler in the country.
Okay.
So I wanted to play drums, and so my dad, they bought me a drum out there because that's all I used to do, just drum. So when I get down there to Chapel Hill, they make you take a test to see what instrument you're gonna play. And I didn't know about it then. I was young, I didn't know, But then when I thought about it later, I'm like, why would you have to take a test to see what instrument you're gonna play? And it was a written test. So what did that got to do with you being able to play that type of instrument? And then I figured out later that was a way for the band teacher to steer different people away from stuff. So they didn't want me to be in the drum section.
Right.
So they said you could play something else. And at that time, my dad, he played trombone in the Army band. And so I did trombone and I did that for like, I don't know, maybe a week. And I was like, man, this ain't me. I'm sorry. So I quit. Right. I quit that, but no, I never gave up on the drums. And when I went to other schools, you know, I got in the drum section. But you know, that's one of them things where, you know, people can't give up on your dream. When you know that that's what you're supposed to be doing, then don't ever let anybody stop you from doing that. They might slow you down, but no, don't never ever let anybody stop you. But I don't know why I threw that in there, but you know, it was Tyler.
Yeah, that resonates with me. You know, matter of fact, I give that advice. A lot of people will come to me and say, you know, I wish I hadn't given up playing my instrument. So there was some kind of social pressure, some kind of pressure that made them do that. Right. And then some parent would go, would you recommend that my child go into music? And I always say, yeah, if that's what's in their heart, because you can change your mind a couple of times even as an adult. You know, you don't stop growing as a young adult. So you need to investigate that.
Yeah. If that's their passion, then that's what they need to go for. But like I said, if you're trying to do something just to put them in something, like you said, and that's not really what they want to do, yeah, they might do it. And then, you know, well, let me take that back, because sometimes people don't know what it is. But if you put them in something, and even if, like I said, it might not be the drums, but like I said, they see somebody playing the saxophone, like, hey, I like that saxophone thing. Now I like that, and they leave the percussion session and go to play in the horn section and stuff. So they might not knew at the time what they wanted to do, but once you put them in there and they kind of got the groove and the feel of it, they're like, hey, I can do that, and then they could develop their passion from there. So you know, it can always work out. You know, like I said, if there's a part, it won't though.
Yeah, there's a discovery where because a child might not even know that they like music unless somebody makes them try it out. You know, so it goes kind of both ways. But then I strongly agree that you need to let a person flow with what their spirit is telling them. You know, that they like. You
know. Yep. I know that's the way I was about drums and about football. Those are two things that I was. Or let me throw art in there. I love art too. So it was, you know, drawing, like I said, the drums and football. Those are my main three right there. And then football took a precedence over everything. So that's why I ended up dropping the band, because I couldn't be in the band and playing football at the same time, because I'm playing football. So I can't be at the halftime. I'm in the locker room. So. But that was my things right there. So, well, let me tell you, man, I heard you got something coming up pretty soon here. What you got coming up?
Oh, yeah. Well, I was, if you can see, I'm in my office and it's kind of in disarray. I was tearing my studio down. I thought I was going to be just remodeling my studio. And so I don't have any equipment in here right now. Just got, I got a new platform I've been building. I'm actually working on that right now as I do interview, but I just received a call. I wasn't trying to actually be working on New Year's, but I received a call that somebody that I normally work with just got overbooked. And so I said, I was hollering at him going, yeah, I'd be glad to play. And he goes, no, man, it's your gig. So, yeah, I have a gig at, it's in Granbury. It's at a country club. So it's not a public gig.
Right. Okay.
Unless you're a part of Granbury and you're in the country down there.
Okay.
But it's a New Year's Eve gig, and I've been there before, so it's a fun place to play, and they treat you well. So it's but a New Year's Eve gig. The adventure has been just trying to get on the phone and see who's available, and then who's a good fit, and you know.
Well, I'm glad you're on here then. If that's the case, then if you're trying to put your band together for this New Year's Eve.
Well, no, it's together, but I went through that.
Okay, I get it. But even with that, because if you have something else that you might need to know, then you need to get your list of musicians down. So real quick now, let everybody know then, how can they contact you? How can they get a hold of you, especially if they're musicians in this DFW area? That, hey, like I said, if you have another gig pop up and you need some fellow musicians to help you out, give them your information so they can get in contact with you.
Okay. Well, yeah, I try to get my name involved in my contact, in my online contact. So my website is barryfordmusic.com. So if you go there, you're gonna see my email, contact, and everything else.
Okay. All right. Cool. So now, besides putting the band together for the New Year's thing, are you going to try to put your own band together? Period.
And getting my own band involves investing in the equipment, so that when you show up at the gig, you sound good because you got good equipment. And I've already got equipment dedicated to production. And by the way, I take that pretty seriously. I was a composition major in college.
Okay.
And so I've always wanted to be a soundtrack writer and all that kind of stuff. But I wound up being just to where I do a lot of tracks. And and then when I'm careful, I talk well enough to do voiceovers. So I do music and voiceovers, and so that's what would interfere. If I didn't have anything else, I'd have to go get that equipment and just do gigs.
Right.
So I just let people that do that call me, and it works out better.
So then the studio that you're putting together now, so that's just for your personal studio, not to bring in other musicians to record or anything. That's just for you.
It's my business studio, but it's a pre-production studio, so it's a one-room deal. Like, people have recorded over here now. I hope somebody's watching that has recorded here, but you got to put headphones on. It's not an isolation booth and that kind of thing. But it's when they have something in their head, they kind of trust me to help them get it out of their head and get it onto a track and get a good demo of it. And even I can take it to the point of mastering it. But my main thing is just to help capture that art and get it out there where somebody else can hear it and do something with it. And if they need me to do that, then I can go a step further with it.
All right, cool. So let me ask you this now: have you ever heard of Delfeayo Marsalis?
Yes, I heard him on the radio playing trombone player, right?
Right.
No, one of the Marsalis brothers.
Exactly. Well, guess what? He's supposed to be on with me tomorrow.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he's supposed to be on with me tomorrow. We go way back from the 90s. I brought him in and did a couple concerts down in Killeen. I brought him in to do a concert. Then I had him host a comedy show for me. So we become real good friends over the years. So he's supposed to be on with me tomorrow. So like I said, he's somebody that, like I said, you need to pick his brain because he played the trombone. He comes from a famous jazz musician family with Branton Marsalis, Wynton Marsalis. Even his brother played the drums, Jason Marsalis. And then his dad that recently passed in COVID back in like March or April. And like I said, he plays the trombone. And then he composed some like I remember back in the day. Remember the show with Bruce Willis and Sybil Shepherd? They go, what's it called, Moonlight or something like that. But he wrote the opening for that show and a couple other shows. And so yeah, man. So tomorrow, 11 a.m. he's supposed to be on with me tomorrow. So check that out. It might be a little fun. So, but hey, once again, y'all, this is my brother here, jazz musician with just jazz artist. Not jazz, just musician, period, playing that saxophone. So if you play country and western, R&B, neo soul, I don't care what you call it. If you need a sax player, go ahead and jump on with that Barry Ford at barryford.com.
Yes, B-Ford at barryfordmusic.com.
That's
by email.
So y'all make sure y'all check him out and give him a call. Once again, I'd like to tell you that you turned out our anniversary. Everybody is still talking about. My brother put it down. So hey, man, I just appreciate you letting God use you that day. We had fun. It was a great time. You keep on doing what you're doing, and when you get your studio all put together, man, let me know what's going on. But in the meantime, between time, you guys say goodbye to my man, Mr. Barry Ford.
Goodbye.
You take care, man.
Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Mr. Barry Ford right there. Y'all make sure y'all go check him out. And like I said, man, the brother can play that saxophone. He gets down. He really puts a good show together. So y'all need to make sure y'all call him and get in on that. Barry Ford, their saxophonist. So, you know, you never know. He might pick up that violin. Oh, matter of fact, speaking of that, let me bring him back. Hold on. I'm glad you didn't go nowhere yet. I just thought about that. Man, I'm getting ready to take off. And I forgot I asked you to do something for me.
Okay.
Yeah, you got it with you?
You said have a saxophone.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Hey man, I don't care what you play. Just play it nice and smooth, so I can talk over it as I go out, and you do you, and let the people hear you do you, and you just go ahead. Go ahead.
I'll just play. Maybe they'll recognize this. I'll play a little bit of it.
All right, go ahead with it. Yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, this has been another. Griff. Remember always to walk in love. Love to each and every day. YouTube, subscribe, comment, Facebook, like, comment. That is my brother, Barry. On the next episode of Session.